We see it very differently. I see Sauron, Sauron.
Jeez.
Dang it. I got to get it right. I can't not get it.
Sauron and Saruman. Saruman. Like salamander.
Oh, dang, you're right. It is Saruman. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. It is Saruman. So that's good because I never knew. I thought his name's Solomon. But
I got orc on my shoe.
Saruman. I mean, he's just trying to do his best, try and take care of the community, but
well,
movie R is also your friend, and we want you to subscribe. Is that a good time to make that pitch? I am the Green Wizard. Welcome back to Movie R, everybody, where we talk about movies. We review them from an after-action review standpoint. We are professional emergency managers. We're talking about Lord of the Rings. It's been 20 years since Fellowship of the Ring came out. We love these movies. And so we're going to be talking about the scene where the trees, the Ents, I believe, they come to realize that Saruman is doing some crazy things. So, Patrick, explain to us what's happening in the scene and why we want to talk about it.
Great. So in this scene, you'll see two hobbits, Merry and Pip. You'll see a giant tree. They'll be on the tree's shoulders, and the tree has just walked out to what it sees as a tree graveyard, where all of his friends have been cut down, basically. He's mourning their loss, and he invites all of his other tree friends to come out and avenge the deaths. It's basically tree avengers.
My business is with Isengard tonight.
They avenge the deaths of their fallen trees, and so they all come out. All the Ents, also known as Ents, but all the trees come out of the forest, and they see Solomon's
Saruman.
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 Solomon's because Sauron was the original bad guy, but anyways, sees Saruman's tower and all the orcs, and so they go down. They're gonna mess them up, and so in this scene we see them heading down.
Come, my friends. The Ents are going to war.
Destroying, hammering, wrestling with all the orcs. And then to really get them where it hurts, they tear apart a dam.
Break the dam! Release the river!
And all the orcs' civilization, or their battlegrounds where they're preparing for battle and building their army, is totally wiped out by a flood. And that's the scene. So
all right, so that's real. Let's talk about what's real, what's fake. But before real, what's fake, let's talk about one very important note here. There's a side note, but just for everyone's edification, whoever wins the war writes the story, right? I'm calling it right now on the show. Okay, Sauron was the good guy. Okay, if you think Sauron was the bad guy, you're messed up.
There is no curse in Elvish, Entish, or the tongues of men for this treachery.
the guys who couldn't find jobs, the miners, right? They're just trying to make their own community, creates industry. creates their little, they create dams, they're creating all infrastructure, they're doing all these kind of things. And also he's trying to unite everybody under a single head, right? Oh, hey, we're just going to try to bring everybody together. And all of a sudden you have these rebels, right? What is this, like, I don't know, Star Wars, but you have like trees destroying everything, all the infrastructure. You have a king who is a pot smoker in bars and
What?
doesn't want to like actually do the job. Yeah, Aragon, who's arrogant.
Aragorn?
Yeah, he's a jerk.
That man in the corner. Who is he?
He's one of them rangers. Dangerous folk they are, one in the wild. What his right name is, I've never heard, but round here, he's known as Strider.
Strider.
Because he doesn't want to do anything about it. He doesn't. All these people have all these problems. The economy sucks. Oh, we're just gonna wait till like literally everyone's gone, half the population. He's like the Thanos of Lord of the Rings.
Look, he wanted to be in the fraternity, okay, aka the Fellowship. All right, so he was having fun with his friends.
Yeah,
hanging out with
exactly.
his
Not
little
acting like a
friends.
freaking leader, right? Oh, I just want to have fun. He's the guy literally in the corner that was smoking pot or whatever and like hanging out in bars. And then like once everything got easy, there was no competition, no problem for resources. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll be the king now. That's
Yeah.
messed up. Also, he like made this like eternal elf lady, whatever. And now like, oh, hey, you're just going to give up eternity for like my 70-year life and I'm a loser. He's a jerk.
One, he took over as king for all the humans when nobody else would. He always fought for honor and for Frodo and for the good of the land.
No,
Did he fall in love? He absolutely fell in love. Hey, and that's her decision. If she wants to give up eternity for love, I'd give up eternity.
That's
for
called
love. No,
manipulation. That's called
wait.
abuse.
I want
Emotional
eternity and
abuse.
love. Anyways, I want both. But he did build
Well,
up
he
an
wasn't.
army. He
By the
built
way.
up an entire army. They marched to Middle Earth. They had Mordor all taken care of. Yeah, it looks scary from the outside, but I think you bring up a good point. They paid a living wage. They had communal living.
They were totally fine. By the way, Arrogant comes up with his crew and forces them to open up their gates.
Well, and then Aragon,
Arrogant.
Aragorn, and the others fight off they fight an incredible battle. They kill so many of his workers.
Okay, but real talk, they were losing. Again, they were losing until they had, I don't know, these terrorist eagles coming from nowhere. We're just gonna like do guerrilla warfare. I don't know. Let's talk about the tree scene, okay?
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about the tree scene. Okay, again, terrorists. Let's talk about real what's fake. So, what's real, what's fake in that scenario? I'm gonna call it. I mean, a scenario is pretty real, for what would happen if a dam was destroyed.
Yeah, if a dam were to fail or too much water had built up on the other side, maybe due to a severe storm or a prolonged severe storm,
or someone destroying it,
or someone attacking it, destroying it. Whatever the reason may be, it could overtop, it could fail, or this happened in Hurricane Harvey. There was the Adams and Barker Dam that they had to release water from. Army Corps of Engineers, they had to make a tough decision, and they decided to release water from it, flooding a neighborhood that was actually built in a reservoir that they didn't make people aware of. So it could happen, a terrorist attack, it could happen during a storm, or it could happen voluntarily as a method to prevent more damage from occurring.
Yeah, and speaking of Army Corps of Engineers, they did an assessment several years ago where they found that 90% of dams, they don't have an evacuation for the communities at the base of those dams. So when you see the orcs just like being like swept away by the floods of the dam breaking, that actually kind of happens. I mean, like you were calling out before we were recording, right? If it was Houston, they'd probably just rebuild right on top of that area once the water receded, right? Like people have vulnerable systems because of where they live, and a mining community that is trying to do their best, live their best life, is not prepared for this dam breaking.
We could also be aware of Saruman's inability to think of this emergency and to come up with a contingency about it. He could have put up a wall around his great little city there, but he didn't. He could have had some flood mitigation there. Also, as a leader, he should have known that that was a major risk and let some of his people know. Maybe that's reflective of he didn't have an emergency manager. He was a leader himself, and he didn't take the necessary actions to learn about the threats in his area and how to protect his people. So both of those are pretty realistic.
Yeah, political leaders who are narcissistic, who literally stay in their ivory towers while everybody else is suffering. That's pretty realistic. And so the scenario of trees taking out dams also could be realistic because the root systems could get in. So I don't know. There's some real things in here. Interestingly enough, Lord of the Rings has some pretty real implications to disaster response. Okay, so we know that. We know what's happening. We're kind of talking about emergency managers having plans. We're talking about evacuations. What else? What are we doing when a dam breaks?
Emergency managers also in this situation would probably be looking at plans or exercises where they evacuated the most vulnerable, maybe from skilled nursing facilities, or from schools, or having transportation set up, or buses, or activating a certain plan to, hey, remember that plan we exercised a year ago, how we had public school buses go and pick up elderly and people with disabilities? We're going to do that now. Now is the time. We need to activate that plan right now.
Yeah, as soon as you see the Ents rushing towards your dam, that's a good time to evacuate everybody. I think it's good that they fought the terrorists. I think that's a good call. But yeah, I think like in any kind of scenario we're dealing with a major evacuation, it takes a lot of time to coordinate that. Even if you give the order to evacuate, I mean, those orcs better be getting on some buses quick, or like whatever those flying crazy creatures are, to be able to get out of the harm's way. Like that's like, and get on higher ground, right? So that kind of leads us into our last section here. What's our PSA? If you have a major dam failure or you live at the base of a dam, how do you protect you and your family?
Evacuate, get to higher ground, plan to not come home for a couple days,
or ever
plan for, well, I mean, have a go bag. That's just it. Have it by the door, have it with some basic items in it and some really important items, change of clothes, and maybe some non-perishable food. Have that for each member of your family, and so that and medications, and when you can grab it, you can go. And you don't have to be worried about things you left behind in your house.
Yeah,
your house could flood.
So here's a little bit of a pitch or a call out. If you go to dobermanemg.com, there is resources, and one of those is a free resource to look at all the things, all the items you want in your go bag, and it just kind of walks through like remembering your insurance. That's a really big thing in an evacuation, remembering your insurance forms.
Something that you can do if you have to leave the house all of a sudden and your phone isn't charged real high. You can go ahead and go to your voicemail and change your voicemail and let people know where you're headed, so that even when your phone dies, it's going to go straight to voicemail, and they're going to always have that recording there for anyone who's looking for you. They're going to know where to go.
I think that's a really clever one. Make sure you do that after you're in the vehicle or after you're out of
yes. Don't try to figure that out while the trees are headed to your house or while the water is rushing in.
Yeah, while the water's rushing in, don't do that. Yeah, but those good call outs, good scene to review. It's like I said, more real than fake. Actually, the scenario is kind of fun to think about in a kind of an alternative way, and also like, hey, like the poor communities, again, these poor orcs, get hit by disasters the hardest. So if you're going to contact your EMA, your local emergency management agency, about their plan, actually push them on a dam evacuation plan. For example, as called out earlier, a lot of dams don't have of plans, and so pushing them to do that so you can avoid a vulnerable situation is also critical. So it's a good way to talk to your local emergency manager as well. So that being said, Patrick, you want to give us a good sign out?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks everyone for watching today. This has been Patrick and the Green Wizard, covering Lord of the Rings with our movie After Action. And tune in next week for our next episode.
Movie R.
Movie R.
A hit. A fine hit.
Movie R.
Movie R.
Movie R.